This video is entitled Bemer Myth Information because there's a lot of myths going around about the Bemer and some of the things they're saying and some of the things the reps are saying and some of the things they're saying about competitors like the IMRS that just aren't true. And I was initially going to call it Bemer lies and misinformation, but I realized that a lot of the Bemer reps are just told these things and they just believe what they're told by their upline or someone up the ladder. I'm not sure where these rumors start or these myths start, but they believe the myths and they share them unknowingly. They don't know that it's not true. So this video is actually both for Bemer reps and people looking at the Bemer and the IMRS and other PMF devices because, the Bemer is a good system just in its own right. You don't need to come up with all these myths and misinformation. Now, I do think the IMRS is a better unit, and I did a very detailed comparison by the numbers, just cutting out all the hype and all the rumors, just getting right down to brass tacks. And I'll have a link below this video so you can see that other video. But let's just get right into it. So these are the top 10 myths that are kind of spread by Bemer reps. And again, I don't blame the Bemer reps. I think they're just trying to do their best. This is what they're taught in the workshops and the seminars by Bemer. So that's why I'm calling it myth information, because I don't think there's any intention to deceive anybody or to spread anything that's false. So please do your due diligence. Remember, the burden of proof is on the one making the claim. So if a Bemer rep or someone in Bemer says something, ask them for proof. Just don't believe it blindly. Well, so let's get right into it. Myth number one is a lot of Bemer reps and a lot of people in Bemer are saying that NASA is using Bemer in their spacesuits. Well, this is just simply not true. What they share is a little frame signature that comes from the NASA Space Agreement Act. And we'll show some images here where you can see exactly the kind of relationship Bemer has with NASA. But this frame signature page is actually the signature taken out of the document, and everything around that is framed by the Bemer website. The NASA Space Agreement Act, let's just get right into it. If you go to the NASA website, nasa.gov/SAA, NASA Space Agreement, you can go in there and find Bemer, last I looked, they're number 640 on the list, as a non-reimbursable Space Agreement Act, right above the Houston Zoo's Atwater Prairie Chicken Project. So there's over 1,200 companies with the Space Agreement Act, so it's not exactly that hard type of agreement. It's kind of like an audition. If NASA actually uses your research, they'll probably still develop their own stuff. Myth number two, and this kind of goes along with that, what the Bemer is saying about IMRS and some other companies that use a square wave. The two sources of information that Bemer reps spread around, and I'll show an image here, is one, it's a document called Rebuttal to IMRS Claims. The title you can see, What's the Fuss About IMRS versus Bemer? And the other is a video by Alex Terrace, did this video rebuttal. And I'm not just saying it's just those two pieces of information, because Bemer reps usually spread around a whole file full of stuff. And so I'm kind of boiling it down to the top 10 myths that are spread by that document and that video amongst other documents that Bemer has. One of the things that's said in that document is that the IMRS says they use the NASA square wave and that NASA came after them. And that's just all not true at all. I'm not sure where they got that from. Basically, and here's a little snippet of the email, basically NASA just didn't want IMRS or any PMF company using the NASA logo because it's trademarked. So we took it down, and that was that. It was a very pleasant conversation. And there is a NASA square wave. So Bemer reps also say, oh yeah, there's no NASA square wave, that's just hype. That's easily proven false. If you go to this link here, and we'll provide the link below, you can see very clearly Dr. Goodwin did a study. And if you go to page 4 and page 12 of the document, clearly a 10 hertz square wave is being used. And the thing about square waves in electromagnetic fields is that if you create a 10 hertz square wave, even if it's not the exact one in the NASA study, it's still a 10 hertz square wave. So that's the square wave that NASA used. Again, easily proven false. You can go right to the document, see for yourself. Myth number 3, a lot of Bemer reps say Bemer is FDA approved. That's just false. Well, it's false in the sense of FDA approval as we typically think of FDA approval, which is what drug companies use. And that's typically like a 5-year, $5 million process, or however long or however expensive. It takes a long time, many years and many millions of dollars. Class 2 registration is what Bemer has, and I looked it up, and that's about a 110-day process, much less than a year. It's not hard to get. If you go to the FDA website, you will see that Bemer is, I guess, not even a PMF device. It says it's a muscle stimulator for muscle conditioning. So I'm not sure exactly what advantage that gives them, but you can further see here that there's a lot of restrictions with Class 2 registration. For example, it says very clearly, if you look up one of the links there, just click on it, and it says this device is not intended for use in patients with medical conditions and is only intended for muscle conditioning purposes. So Class 2 registration is something other PMF devices could get, but it's not advantageous because there's a lot of restrictions. Again, it's not FDA approval as people think of FDA approval. Totally different. Now further, and again, this comes from that rebuttal document, the rebuttal to IMRS claims. Bemer claims that IMRS falsely says that Bemer is not FDA registered. I went back in archive.org, and actually we updated the website back in October of 2013. And by the way, I've seen the same document being passed around for a couple years now. So Bemer's not even updating their document when obvious things are just not true anymore. In fact, 4 years now it's been updated. We do say Bemer is FDA registered. You go to imrs2000.com and you can see we say Bemer is FDA registered. And so here's some of the screenshots of these archive.org, and the symbols here is basically a green check, and it clearly says no when it's no. So that's just not true. Bemer goes on to say that the IMRS 2000 falsely has the FDA logo on their website, that they can't do that. We've had it there. We've never heard any problems with the FDA because we have FDA Class 1 registration. So if you click on that link, it goes right to our registration. So there is nothing wrong with putting that logo there because we do have FDA registration. Bemer can do it too, but we don't say, the FDA is going to come after Bemer because they got their FDA logo there. That's just, I don't know why they're saying some of this stuff, just totally unnecessary. Myth number 4, Bemer says that only Bemer has research. IMRS has no research. Other PMF companies have little or none. Again, false, false, false. We have 3 studies. We'll put the links here on PubMed. We have a whole book of research. If you email us at sales@imrs2000.com, we'll send you a whole book of research based on 10 years of clinical data in a German clinical setting with the MRS 2000, with the exact same signal, waveforms, frequencies, and intensities that we're still using. We had research done by the SciTech Institute in Encinitas, and I was there when they presented that. We had really good stuff on heart rate variability improving, EIS scans, gas discharge visualization, dramatic improvements in that, and infrared thermography, and more. So we had some really, really in-depth studies done by the SciTech Institute, which was presented. And again, email us at sales@imrs2000. We're happy to share the whole PowerPoint slideshow that SciTech presented. So easily disproven. We have plenty of research, as do other PMF companies. Again, we never say that Bemer doesn't have research, so I don't know why they say things that just aren't true and that are easily proven not true. And a couple notes on the Bemer signal, because they say, oh yeah, Bemer's got a patented signal, is that you can patent any signal. I could patent an elliptical signal or just create some random signal. Just to patent something doesn't mean anything. Now, they do have research with the Bemer signal, but it's all Dr. Klopp who works for Bemer. Now, the thing about the sawtooth and the square wave is there's actually a lot of research by independent third party going back to the 70s with the sawtooth and the square wave. Actually, much, much more research with those proven waveforms. The Bemer signal is more relatively new kid on the block. It just came around more recently. And it's been around for a while now, but certainly the sawtooth and the square wave have been around longer and have more research. Myth number 5, the Bemer lasts for 12 to 18 hours and the IMRS lasts only 1 to 4 hours. Well, this is totally false, and this is a real doozy. I don't know where they came up with these numbers. In fact, I've heard Bemer reps say everything from the Bemer lasts 18 hours to the Bemer lasts 12 hours and everything in between. And the IMRS lasts 1 hour, it lasts 4 hours, and even one lady said the IMRS lasts 0 hours, that the results go away as soon as you get off the mat. So I don't know where they got these numbers from, but they're totally bogus. And in fact, the NASA study and other research has shown that a rapid rise and fall is the best way to charge up the cell. So if anything, the IMRS is going to last maybe a little longer than the Bemer. But here's the other really important thing, is that the amount of time that the charge will last depends probably more on the person's cell membrane integrity. The best analogy is if you have a corroded battery or if you have a new fresh rechargeable battery. We're talking rechargeable batteries here. It doesn't matter if one battery charger isn't better than another. The battery that's not corroded or that's fresh is going to hold its charge for longer than a corroded battery. And again, here's another point. You can see this chart here is that the IMRS uses more frequencies. There's a lot of good research to show that different tissues resonate to primarily 0 to 50 hertz, and you get just more harmonics with the IMRS sawtooth and square wave than you will with the Bemer signal. So again, that resonance is going to help to charge up the cells of all the different tissues in your body, because again, different tissues and cells will respond to different frequencies differently. So I hope that makes sense. Myth number 6, only Bemer promotes microcirculation. Now this is really false, and it's very interesting because I know someone who has been very closely tied into the PMF community in Europe for over 20 years now, and one of her colleagues worked with and knows Dr. Klopp very well, and the colleague said that Dr. Klopp always said that live blood microscopy was proof of microcirculation improvement. You can see we'll show a few little images here on the screen in the link below, that we have many live blood before and after to show improved microcirculation. We also have infrared thermography, which indirectly shows improved microcirculation, because when your surface skin temperature improves, that increase of warmth is because the circulation's opening up. In fact, a lady here in town, Rita, she did before and after. She had a whole folder full of before and afters with the IMRS, and she actually compared it to Bemer, and the MRS actually was working better than Bemer for the before and after infrared thermography. So again, just false. In fact, most PMF devices improve microcirculation. Myth number 7, there's some comparison charts and that compare that Bemer to other brands, including the IMRS. And I won't say a whole lot. You can see this chart here, and you may have seen these charts if you've gotten a hold of some of the Bemer documents. It really just boils down to one thing. The person doing the compare charts is Dr. Klopp, who works for Bemer. So obviously he's going to show Bemer come out on top. For all we know, he could have turned the other competitor models to the lowest intensity and turned Bemer to the highest intensity. I mean, who knows? Myth number 8, biofeedback, and this is in one of the video comparisons. Biofeedback is not needed. I laugh a little because it's just kind of humorous how this guy Alex says this in this comparison video. And the iGuide is not backed by research. Well, that's false and false. First of all, the biofeedback is one of the big advantages of the IMRS over the Bemer. It gives you a customized session every time because it's going to use heart rate variability to increase or decrease the intensities automatically. It puts using the full body med on autopilot. So you get exactly what your body needs. With the Bemer, you're using cookie cutter protocols that are supposed to be good for Olympic athletes and elderly people in their 90s, which of course is kind of, in my opinion, it's kind of silly. So to use a standard protocol chart for everybody, it's a huge disadvantage over having something that custom tailors every session. And the iGuide is backed by 10 years of clinical data, 284 protocols for 284 different conditions, backed by 10 years of clinical data. So again, that's false. Myth number 9, a lot of Bemer reps say over 1 million units have been sold. I'll just say this, there's no proof of that. In fact, when you do a little digging, Bemer never appears in the Direct Seller Association's top 100. At least I looked back several years, I couldn't find them. If they make a wild claim like this, ask them for proof. And myth number 10, and this is easily proven false, is Bemer says they're not PMF. I mean, really? In fact, if you get a tri-field meter or any magnetic field detector, and I've done this, I've tested the Bemer. In fact, Bemer even comes with their own little magnetic field tester. What that's testing is a pulse magnetic field or a time varying magnetic field. If you look on some of these tri-field meters that says time varying magnetic field, the needle's going to bob. And I mean, I've tested the Bemer Classic. It's definitely PMF. Finally, I just want to conclude that Bemer says in their documents, rebuttal to IMRS claims that IMRS is unethical, that they spread all these lies. And honestly, I think it's the other way around. I mean, our comparison charts are by the numbers. And look at this video. We have a little screenshot of the video here, but I'll put the link below. Our comparisons are from the specs of both respective manuals, by the numbers, actual data, not this myth information that's being spread. At the end of the day, when you compare the IMRS and the Bemer, which I do think are the top 2 PMF devices, when you really look by the numbers, the IMRS has a better range of frequencies, better range of intensities. It's got biofeedback. It has tightly wound copper to give you a much better signal than the plastic tubing. Watch our video, IMRS versus Bemer, and by the numbers, and you'll see the difference.